the cool thing about having a car that you've converted from a coupe to a fastback is that you can do anything with it you want. That's exactly what we're going to do with ours. I'm trying to figure out what front end that I'm going to put on the born again Mustang. I'm excited about that. I think it's kind of cool. My thoughts about this have evolved. I want to share those with you. Today's going to be a talking video. I'm going to show you some research that we've done. I want to show you different Mustang front ends. We're going to compare those. I'm going to tell you why I chose what I chose for the born again Mustang, because I'm about to order these parts and they're about to get in the mail. This may help you make some decisions about your Mustang as well. So here we go. So I am glad you guys are here with me today. We are going to talk about front ends and the nose pieces of Mustangs. Let me show you one thing that's really cool. I don't know if you can see this. Let me move my mic a little bit. So moving my mic out of the way, can you read that? Look what it says. I'll read it to you. It says, make Coupes great again. Make Coupes great again, make them fastbacks. I like it. My daughter makes these shirts. They are handmade. If you want one, a link is going to be in the description. You can go and connect with that. And again, handmade. There won't be a bunch of them made. She can't make a whole bunch of them. But if you want one, let us know, and we'll kind of go from there. Let's talk about Mustang front ends, and let's talk about, you know, what the Mustang looks like over the years. I'm not an expert on every nuance of the trim packages and everything on Mustangs. I just know what I like, and that's what we're going to look at together. So let's start off by just kind of looking at, first of all, the difference between the 1967 and the 1968 Mustang. This is just your regular run-of-the-mill Mustang. If you look at the cars in 60, the difference between 67 and 68, Mustang got really simple, and I think there was some cuts and some budget things. There had to have been something, because if you look at the 67 Mustang, it's quite a bit more ornate than the 68. The 68 has always been one of my favorites. It's the bullet car. That's I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I just thought it was just such a cool car. The older I've gotten, the more I appreciate the 67, because it is an ornate car. There are some details in the 67 that you don't find in the 68. I think the 68 is a more sturdy car when it comes to like running gear, because it has 2 torque boxes and a few other things. But I think the 67 is a really beautiful, beautiful car. And here's the beauty of building this car. I can put whatever front end on I want. I have this particular front end already. I already have these headlight buckets. I have the grille, I have the trim, I have the bumper, I have the front valance. I have the whole thing for a 68 model, factory 68 model Mustang front end with no fanfare. I look at the 67, and if I had to pick between these two, in my opinion, I think the 67 looks better. I just like the way it looks. That's an opinion. That's not anything against the 68s or whatever, but you can look that the 68 is a little simpler than the 67. I like the 67 if I were going to go with that. Now let's look at the GT. So here's the 67 model Mustang GT. Really, the only thing I can tell by looking at this, which by the way, the 67 does have these little additions here into the bumper. I could take them or leave them. Doesn't really matter to me. But when you look at the actual car itself, what I see in this particular car is they've added these little headlights to the grille. Kind of like those. I think that's okay. Doesn't jump off the page at me and makes me go, gosh, that's cool. I love the front end of a Mustang, period. I love that. That's why I do what I do. That's why I build them. I think the front end is just an amazing looking car. But when I compare them, you know, I don't really see much of a draw to that. I look at the 68 GT, and again, the 68 GT is, you know, the car's a little more simplified. I look at the grille. I don't know. You can see a few nuances in that grille. The differences between it and the 67 GT. There's like a little bitty trim piece, like up in here. You see that? That's there. I'm not super excited about that, any of those. So let's go a little further. Let me show you some other cars for us to at least look at. And this is the 68. I've got to erase some things off of here. Well, maybe not. Well, there's a mark on that one. I don't know why it's there, so I can't get it to come off. Anyway, on the 68, I'm just going to show you specifically the front end on the 68 GT, Shelby GT 500 and 350s are exactly the same. I'll show you what I don't like. And I'm going to 68 first because the 67 is going to be my preference. You're going to see that. I don't like how the headlights on this one is protruded. I don't like that. I don't like how they kind of stick out. I like how they're recessed on the factory front end, and I like how they're recessed even more on the GT the Shelby GT 67 model Shelby GT. I like that. I will show you something that they did do, and I did a little research to find out about this, but one of the things that they did do is on the 68, if you'll look right here, they added this nose piece. On the 67, that's actually the hood that comes out that far. But on the 68, because they were having problems with the fiberglass process back then, and they were having the hood, because it was so long and had such a little bit of a curve to it, they were having a hard time with warpage and getting gaps good. They wound up adding that nose piece. I don't like that. I don't like that as well. I like that hood being the full piece coming off to the front, and I think a lot of you like the same thing. So, I'm not a fan particularly of the square headlights and the grille on the 68 model. So, just to me, and I'm not knocking it, I would take a 68 model Shelby GT Mustang in a heartbeat if somebody was giving it away and they said, "Hey Scott, I'd like to give you something because you're an awesome person." I would take one. But it's not, for me, making a choice about what nose piece I'm going to put on the Born Again Mustang. It's probably not going to be one of my choices. So let me take you to what I have actually chosen. Now, there's an Eleanor. We're going to talk about it. But let me show you. I personally, and I'm going to show you the reasons why I love the 67 Shelby GT Mustang grill. Both the 350 and 500 are the same. I'll tell you what I like. I like the one-piece hood. So see how that hood comes all the way down? I like that. I like that it's not two pieces like on the 68. I like the depth of the grill. Look how deep back in here that grill is in there, man. I like that a lot. I like a lot the way that these headlights, if you'll notice, see how the headlights, they're recessed back inside that headlight bucket. They're not pushed out like on the 68. I don't really like that look on the 68, as I've already told you. I like the front bumper. I like the valance that's on this one. Man, I think all of that just looks really, really sharp. This is a good looking car. Now, to buy this, to have this particular front end, you're going to have to buy some fiberglass pieces. I'm going to talk about that, but let me just show you the Eleanor first before I run into that. So a lot of people are saying, look at the Eleanor. What do you think about the Eleanor? And I don't want this to be in any way controversial or hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not a big fan of the Eleanor. I know this is I think Chip Foose is the one who put this together. It's the Gone in 60 Seconds car. When I look at this car, the way that just this front spoiler to me, the little side things, which look like side pipes, you combine that with all the vents and all the other pieces, not to make anybody mad, but it reminds me like of an older man's pickup truck that's got like the running boards and it's got that bug deflector on the front and it's got, all kinds of stuff on the back. On the back, it's got those little rails that go down the bed, and he's added a few trim pieces down the side, and it just looks like the Griswold station wagon. I'm not a fan of the Eleanor. I seriously dislike the way that these particular lights, I don't even know if those are turn signals or what those are. I don't like the way those lights actually affect the way the Mustang looks. The Mustang overall, an Eleanor, as far as an Eleanor is concerned, in my opinion, the whole front end in general, if you look at it, kind of looks like the first gen Mustangs. It looks like a 64 through 66 model Mustang, and I like a 64 through 66. I just don't like a 64 through 66 front end on a 67 or a 68, and that's what it feels like to me. I'm just not a gigantic fan of the Eleanor. I don't like that billet looking grill. I just don't like it. It's not my thing. So for me, as far as my car is concerned, it's definitely going to be the 67 GT350 is going to have it. Here's my concerns for mine. I'm not running these full size tires like this. I'm running a much lower profile tire. My car's going to have a lower stance. I don't know what that's going to look like as far as if this car is lower to the ground. What is that going to do as far as like, what is that car going to look like lower to the ground? And I'm not sure yet. I don't know. It looks pretty cool right here because the car's kind of high off the ground. That front end juts out on a Shelby a little bit more. I'm a little concerned about that. That's why I have not pulled the trigger on this just yet. My idea from the beginning was to put the factory 68 model front, headlight buckets, grill, and everything in it, and have the car have that real stock appearance. But when you look at it, you're like, there's something going on here. I didn't do any fender flares. I want to keep everything really kind of low profile on the body itself and really keep that Mustang appearance. And I don't want it to have like the Eleanor thing where it looks like you put a lot of plastic on there. It's like it's got a body kit and all that. I don't want that for my car. So I'm a little concerned of what this is going to do to it. So I'm going to do a little more research. Now, having said that, talk about research. I've spent quite a bit of time doing research for these particular parts. If you are going to put a Shelby front end on your car, there's two pieces in particular that you're going to have to purchase. One is you have to have the actual front end piece itself, and I'm just going to kind of outline that, and then you're going to have the hood. That's the two major pieces. So you're going to have the hood and then the front piece itself. You have to buy both of those. From everybody that I've talked to, I called some friends of mine. This is my first time putting a fiberglass nose on a Mustang. So I'm going to tell you on the front end, I'm learning with you. The friends of mine that have done it, and from the forums that I've visited and from the people that I've seen do it and the conversations I've had doing some follow-ups on companies that sell this stuff, talking to some of their customers who installed it, I've heard a few things in particular. One was I've heard that you most likely want to buy the hood and the nose piece from the same company because the fitment is an issue. The second thing I've heard from people is that sometimes on the cheaper parts, they're harder to fit to the car. They don't have the brackets in them. And sometimes just putting the hardware in the part to get it to fit the front of the car is problematic in itself. There's a lot of these parts coming out of cheaper manufacturers. I've heard them coming out of Mexico where they're just not really putting the kind of detail work into it. And when you get it, they're so far off. There's a lot of trouble. So I did a whole bunch of research. I found every reputable part company that I could find and people that I had conversations with that recommended. I've also put some parts company on there for you to think about, because there's some that are really, really cheap, and they're a gamble. It may be worth it. If you're a good body person and you're not the least bit intimidated by actually having to really reshape some of the fiberglass or making the fenders fit to it, if you're not intimidated by that, then these cheaper companies might be the better way for you to go because you have skills that maybe somebody else doesn't have. But what I did was I put together, like I say, a list that includes the companies that sell these particular parts. Here's an example of one of them. This is the Mustangs to Fear front end. It's one of the more pricey front ends, but it's one of the more better built front ends. It's one of the noses that I've heard some people reference. And a lot of times higher end car, you got more margin. If you don't want to have a bunch of fitment issues, I've heard these guys have a really good one. But I did this with several distributors. Several companies are included in this. I put together a document with my own research. I have about 20 hours of work in that document of just calling and just giving you a simple summary of what I've discovered about these particular, either the parts manufacturer or the distributor of the part. So if you're thinking about putting a Shelby nose on your Mustang, this might be worth your while. I specifically did the research for the Born Again Mustang. The Born Again Mustang is going to have a 67 model Shelby nose piece. That's what I researched. Now, these same companies sell the fiberglass nose pieces for the first generation Mustangs. They also sell them for the 68 models and so forth and so on. My research is specifically about the 67 Shelby Mustang, but they sell fiberglass parts for all of them. So the research will in some ways translate to, say a 69 or 70 model Mustang, or some of the other Mustangs, but in particular, I did it for the 67 or 68. I say all that to say this. I've put this document together. I'm going to have this document and it's on my Gumroad account. I'm going to include a link in the description of this video. You can download that document for $10, and you can have all the research that I have made, all of the recommendations, there's some pros and cons to each of these companies, and I give you the pros and cons. I give you the differences. Some of these companies, the nose piece includes the mounting brackets for your headlights. Some do not. And there's some fabrication included. Some of them include the mounting hardware already in the fiberglass material to the fiberglass nose to mount it to your front fenders. Some do not. You have to anchor that in there. I've heard some stories about that. I included some of that in this document. So if you are thinking about doing a tribute car or a clone car or whatever, using Shelby parts, this is probably going to be a really handy document for you. Now, I know some people are going to say, Scott, I'm not spending $10 on no document, I don't know what your time's worth, but You can do the same research I did. You may not have the sources I have, but you could probably do the same research, spend 20, 30 hours on it or whatever, and you could probably figure it out on your own. Or you can download this for $10. I look at it like this, like the parts list. I have some people gripe about the parts list. I don't want to spend $10 on a parts list. Well, you can do the research yourself. The problem is what's your time worth? You know, I found for me that if I've got somebody that's already done the heavy lifting for me, I'm just going to take what they've got. That's what this is. If you're thinking about doing any fiberglass parts on your car, these are companies that distribute fiberglass parts. These are reputable parts distributors, and some of these are reputable fiberglass manufacturers that manufacture the parts that might be good for you. So anyway, download it if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. But I did do the research for you. We've kind of briefly looked at the difference in these noses. For the Born Again Mustang, I'm definitely going to put I'm going to say definitely, I'm 99% sure I'm going to put that Shelby GT, 1967 Shelby GT nose on my car. And I think that's the way to go. And I'm going to buy the hood and the nose together. I don't know exactly which company I'm going to use just yet. At the making of this video, I don't know. Follow me on Instagram, Coupe to Fastback, Scott Harness, and you'll see it there because I'll make an announcement of what company I'm going to use, and I'll tell you why there on Instagram. But this is the research. This is where I'm at. I've got to order these parts now. That's why I'm doing the research now, because some of these parts are, number one, they're hard to find. Some of them are out of stock. So depending on who I go with, it might take me a little bit to get them in. But the body's getting welding on. I'm welded the body on my car right now. It's really close to me needing these front end parts. I'm going to need a driver's side fender and the nose piece and the hood. And by having those parts in, I can meet my goals for the end of the summer. My goal for the end of the summer is my car is setting on the wheels and tires it's supposed to have. It's going to have the front end completely finished. The body is completely welded on. The interior is epoxy primered and painted. The exterior is epoxy primered where it needs to be, and it's ready for running gear. That's my goal for the end of summer. We'll see if I can get there, and I think I can, but I'm going to need to order these parts pretty quick. So if you're thinking about doing something like this might be a help for you. As always, I'm praying for you. I hope things are going well. Remember, I'm a pastor first, and I build the cars second, third, fourth, fifth, or something down through there. So this is not how I make a living. I'm not sponsored by any of these people that I'm going to give you my information I found on. I'm also just a regular guy just like you. You take my opinion for what it's worth. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. That's okay. Don't worry about it. If I can help you in any way, message me. I'm not super fast at getting back with people, but I get back to you as fast as I can, and I normally get back to you. So just know that. But if I can help you in any way, there's that. Follow me on Instagram. I'll post some stuff periodically there. I'm not super fast about putting stuff out right there either. Last little bit's been kind of busy for me, but anyway, it's good. So if I can help you in any way, I sure would be more than willing to do that. And until next time, God bless you.